Hi, so this will be my submission for part two of the open source project contribution. So the open source project I decided to work on was called the algorithms, which is basically an open source library for data structures and algorithms. They work mostly in Python, but they also have other languages like Java, JavaScript, C++, C, and Go. I'll show you the repository really quick here. Um, so I worked at the Python library because I wanted to tackle Python because I'm most comfortable with the language. But as you can see, they have other languages, but I decided to do Python. And they also have a bunch of files, and they have a README section where they'll show you how to contribute and whatnot. And they also have a Discord, which is great, which is what I use to get to know some of the other members. But I decided to do sorts because when I went to the issues tab, I saw that they didn't have many test cases for topological sort. Um, and so I'll show you the original topological sort here really quick. And so this is what it looks like. It had one test case and it didn't really have user input. So if I wanted to put in like a different set of vertices and edges, I wouldn't be able to, and I would have to essentially just change this or add additional ones. And I went about that originally by using a parser. Um, and that didn't really work because I encountered a lot of errors with the MyPy library for this specific repository because a lot of things they didn't allow because it was for a cleaner code base. And so there's a lot more restrictions than I thought. But so I'll show you my. So this is mine. So what I ended up doing was I just kept the same test case that they had originally up here. I didn't touch it, but originally what I did have was a bunch of test cases that I would parse through and then I would print out in the main. But because there are a bunch of restrictions, I wasn't able to do that. As you can see, this is my old code. But what I ended up doing was using a helper function, and I also getting off track here, but this is the doc test for the other for this function. What I ended up doing is I made the original function into a helper function, and I created another function just called topological sort, which takes in the edges and the vertices, and it essentially just goes through and calls this function because this function originally didn't have it didn't take in the edges essentially. And because of that, it was really hard to create test cases surrounding this. So I changed it, I modified it a little bit, and I also made it so that users would be able to input their own test cases. So previously you weren't able to do that. But yeah, that's why I added. And I can give you a short demonstration here. So we can enter the vertices separated by commas. So we'll do A, B, C, and D. And then you're prompted to enter the edges that are connected to vertex A. We'll do B and C. And then we'll do E here. And then we'll just press enter, enter twice to skip those. And then we'll get the topological sort of A, B, C, D with the charts. And I still ended up adding some test cases, as you can see up here. Because previously you weren't able to add in the edges directly, but I modified it so you could. I had over 30 or so, but in the future, I would probably start this project a lot earlier because I encountered a lot more errors than I thought. And honestly, the guidelines, I did not expect them to be so strict. And so I would definitely do this a lot earlier in the future. Also, I originally worked on CAP, which is another open source project, which is a screen recorder for Mac operating systems. But they ended up making my version of Mac uncompatible last week after I chose it 2 days after. And so in the future, I probably wouldn't choose an open source project that has to rely on a website. I'd probably do something more like this. This is really interesting to me, and I didn't expect to find this. So yeah.